You know, the Texas rig is probably the easiest rig out there. Everybody knows it, everybody's heard of it. And as simple as it is, you know, there's some subtleties to this rig. And one is absolutely the weight. You know, in today's age, if you're not using tungsten, you're not feeling about half of your bite. So this is a true tungsten weight. Tungsten's harder, it's denser, you've got more feel to it, and it's smaller. And that's really what we want, is we want a natural package. The other important component besides the bait is obviously the hook. You know, and in Uvella, we've come up with a line of hooks to match any style of bait you're fishing, from an extra wide gap to an offset to a straight shank. And that's really what you want to think about when you're Texas rigging. You want to match the hook size, the hook style, to the type of bait. So right here we've got a real fat-bodied stick bait. And for that kind, you want something that's got some bite, because it's a fat body. On a skinny worm, you can get a ray with a regular offset, and then a flipping hook, you want a straight shank. So there's different styles. So you've got the weight, tungsten weight, you've got the hook, and you've got the bait. The other thing in Texas rig, you might think it's an idiot bait, but there's a lot more to it than to just cast it out and reel it in. One of the things I always try to do is I always try to put it near a piece of cover, whatever it might be. It could be a rock, it could be a tree, it could be a log. And you want to watch that bait as it falls. You know, Texas rig to me is about a 60-40 bait. 60% of the time that fish is going to hit on the bottom, but about 40% of the time he's going to hit on the initial fall. So you don't want to cast that bait out next to that tree and then peel line off. You don't want to sit there and peel line off and make all this slack, because you're going to miss a bite. The other thing you don't want to do is you don't want to get that bait, cast it out, and then leave it tight. And leave a tight line, because then what that bait's going to do, it's actually going to pendulum away from the cover. So when you find that piece of cover, you want to get your Texas rig, you want to cast it next to it, and let it fall on a semi-slack line. And watch that line as it falls. Semi-slack line. And about 40% of the time, that fish is going to hit on the fall. Now let's jump to the other 60%. Now we're on the bottom. You know, the biggest mistake I see people do is not to maintain bottom contact. So as you're working that Texas rig, you really want to feel what's down there. Make sure you feel it. The nice thing about that tungsten weight is, unlike lead, it's dense, it's hard, it transmits that feel. So as you're working it, feel every little pebble. You know, I almost like to imagine that I'm the worm crawling over all that stuff. Maintain that bottom contact. If you do those couple things, you'll take a simple Texas rig and you'll increase your chances of catching a big bass.